Here. So thank you for coming out before the rain hits. Super excited about this. This is all new to our world, this incredible opportunity that we have to really kind of take a deeper look at what we all know we are, which is toxicity in our body, in our blood, and in our cells. So this is really gives you a great big picture of how toxic we really are or not. Chris is super excited today because what he has seen so far from everybody that has done isogenics or doing isogenics is we're pretty clean, and our cells are pretty, would you say toxic free? Clean of toxins?
Pretty clean.
Pretty clean. So for me, this is really another affirmation, which I already know, that what we're doing is we're on the right track. We're on the right track. So I'm really excited to incorporate this into some of our opportunity meetings that we have and our trainings, and show everybody, actually really see what it is that we've been preaching about for 13 years with isogenics, that our whole system is designed around nutritionally cleansing the body. This was first attracting my husband and I to isogenics was the word nutritional cleanse, nutritional cleansing. My husband had done cleanses forever and ever and ever. Brent remembers them way back in the day. They were called pooping cleanses, and we used to all just come to class and talk about pooping, and how much we've been moving our brains out, how awful that was. And they weren't fun because really all you were doing was cleaning your colon out. And as soon as you were done cleaning your colon out, you fill right back up again. So what caught our eye was the word nutritional cleansing. And I said, oh, when he found it, I said, we're not going to do another one of those, honey. I'm so tired of doing those things. And he said, I think this is different. I think this is different. I said, well, research it, research it. So he did for 4 or 5 days. He said it's not a pooping cleanse. It's something that really is going to clean up our cells. So for 3.5 years, I've just been running off of what we know, just based on science and research. Well, now we really have some proof that ties into, visual proof for me, that ties into what I already know. And I'm really excited to see. My husband just did his about 10 minutes ago. And Chris, how did he do?
He did extremely well. Yeah, I was actually impressed. You never know what you're going to find, but the big thing you sometimes see with people that have been that active their whole life and probably eating lots of protein is a lot of built up protein that can create a lot of inflammation. And his was all cleared up, so it means he's cleansing very well, doing regular cleansing. His cells were getting extremely good amounts of nutrients, nice round cells, nice full of hemoglobin, so good energy. So I was impressed. It was looking good.
Thank you. So what we just stumbled onto with my husband a few minutes ago is something that isogenics is going to want to know about. 3 years ago, my husband was very, very critically sick. He was not expected to live. Okay, his body took a hit severely from the inside out. Every single thing in his body was severely burned. Kidneys, liver, heart, the outside and the inside. He wasn't supposed to live past the summer. So to get a report like that today, I mean, makes me just want to cry. It's remarkable. So thank you for affirming what we were hoping to see. And so we're really excited today to have Stephanie and her wonderful team here today, as well as Chris and what he does. And he's going to explain for the next 45 minutes how incredible this is. I have been doing what he does years ago, and I was a big proponent of this. I support this whole philosophy and this theory. The proof is in the pudding, like we like to say. And so welcome. Thank you for coming, and we're super excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
Great. I'm going to have Todd come up as well, but he disappeared for a second. But I do want to thank everybody for coming. I know a few of you came for different reasons. And for the first thing is the cell analysis. It is very fascinating, as Jill just went over and explained her thoughts on it. It's extremely fascinating. Several of us have already had it done, and we all came out with really good results. So for one, it was such a confirmation for us to know that what we are doing is working, and it's really, it shows up, it's proof. But to see it live, to see that, and then also just to find out maybe we have a few little tweaks that we may need to make, or remind me to make, and that's what Chris is going to talk about as technicians, and allow us an opportunity to just change a few things. And some of us might experience we might need more water, even though we think we're drinking enough. How many times as associates of isogenics have we told people drink more water? Always. But this is our proof that you need more water. So we really have to go through it, or maybe more iron or vitamin B or something like that. So it is very exciting, because now we can take our health to a whole new level. We already thought we were there, now we can just kind of tie it all up and go to the best we can possibly do. So I want to introduce Todd Schuler. who actually brought Chris Lange into our lives. So thank you so much, Todd. This is Todd Schuler. We've known each other for a couple years now. One of my first associates, actually. And he did a health seminar. This is kind of, I want you guys to kind of get a vision as an associate, kind of vision how people just come into your lives and we're all brought together. And so Todd did a health seminar, and I kept asking Todd, let me come and do a nutrition class, please, please, please. So he finally did a health seminar, and Chris was there, and it blended. It was such a perfect marriage in the way that they talk, the way that we talk, the whole system. So Chris is extremely familiar with isogenics. He's gone down to isogenics. He's been talking to our scientists and our research and development team. Really knows our product very well. And after he's done with his presentation, we'll kind of go into that a little bit more in detail. But I'm going to go ahead and let Todd introduce Chris, and thank you, Todd, for bringing this all together and making it happen.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Great.
Excellent, excellent. Well, how I met Chris is very similar. A friend introduced me, and I went to get my blood tested. And just an amazing experience. You're going to sit down, you're going to see what's going on in your body right then, right now. No questions, no mysteries. And when it happened, Chris was just so passionate about it. He really believes in health. His business, Health Scope, I See Healthy, he really does see that. He really does embody the health, not just a product or a thing. He embodies health. And same as Stephanie, when I saw this thing come together, all I could think was the health of isogenics with real proof that it is healthy. So when people ask, it's like, hey, it is real. And with the same thing, anyone that you're working with, they get to see what their body's doing and get to really see the health and not just say, I feel good, but they really know that they feel good. Now, Chris is a wonderful guy, intellect, a family guy, father, husband, just a wonderful guy. Chris, it's been a pleasure meeting you. The floor is yours.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks very much for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Let me make sure we can get some audio here. Okay. All right. So I work with a company called I See Health Solutions, and what we do is we specialize in trying to help analyze people's cellular health. And I'll kind of give you just a brief background on what brought me here and kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think that's important to always ask why you do what you do. Anybody that's a big fan of Simon Sinek, I love Simon Sinek, and Simon Sinek always asks, begin with the why. And so I want to help you understand the why I'm here and then why you should consider making sure that you have healthy cells and a healthy cellular health. Let me just give you a brief introduction just so you kind of know me a little bit better. I've always been involved with health and fitness. I absolutely love it. Kid you not, this was me as a baby, lifting weights early on, as a toddler. Okay? But in all seriousness, I love health and fitness. Anything from yoga to weight training. I do a lot of different events. This is a cool event that Lifetime Fitness does every year called Commitment Day. We're actually waking up January 1st and running. I run this fun race in Prescott, Arizona every year called the Whiskey Row Boot Race, and we win these cool beer trophies. I'm the guy that kind of is planking on a fence post and on a rock and throwing kids up in the air, and you'll see me doing things from powerlifting to jiu-jitsu. This is Tony Horton and I. I used to live in Washington, D.C. I worked as an executive manager for a company called Results Gym up there, and then worked as a health consultant. And so Tony Horton and I actually got a chance to do a bunch of different stuff together, helping people in our government, people in Capitol Hill become healthier. And so if they can't run the government well, at least they're trying to be healthier. But above all things, I love education. I love being able to speak in a group, whether it's 300 people or 30 people or 3 people. Because I know that every time you can educate somebody, that's where people can be empowered about something with health. And I started, my first job really in health and fitness was as a personal trainer when I was 18. And I loved it. You can sit there and talk to people and they're wanting to lose weight and they feel awful, and you get them moving a little bit, get a little bit better exercise going, a little bit better diet, and all of a sudden next thing you know they're doing much better. And I loved it. I loved helping people. So as I kind of went throughout the years, education kind of just became my favorite. And I'm not the best speaker, but you'll kind of sense that I'm at least passionate and confident in what we're talking about. So, family guy, like Todd was saying, our backyard's like a boot camp. We do little gardens and yoga poses. That's my wife, Charlotte. We have 5 kids, so we stay pretty busy. We just had our newest one 6 months ago. So that's just a little background on kind of me, all right? And that's my professional career as an adult has really been health and fitness. And you usually talk about these macro concepts, and you hear a lot about them. In fact, you go to the grocery store, you can look in the aisle, and you're going to see articles about eating right, eat organic, exercise, and you're going to see 1,000 articles on what to do for exercise, and 1,000 ways to do bicep curls, and 1,000 ways to do sit-ups, and 1,000 ways to lose weight, 1,000 ways to sleep better. That's these macro health concepts that they're all important to us, and that's the world that I was in for a long time. Reduce stress, right amount of protein, carbs, and fats, and detox the body. Macro health issues. Okay. Well, I had a wake-up call, something that changed my life, caused me to think differently, and I want to be sensitive here because I know most of us have had similar losses. This was my mother, George. Lost her to pancreatic cancer a little while ago. One of the biggest struggles I've ever gone through, my whole family's gone through, and I started thinking I wanted to step out of the atmosphere of just talking to people about diet and just talking to people about how to lose weight. I wanted to dive deeper. And so I got together with a couple of my partners. So Dr. Brian Cafaro, he's our chief medical director. Dr. Rafi's another one of our medical experts. And we wanted to come up with a company that can help analyze people's cellular health. Number one, to try to prevent things from happening. Number two, to try to ensure that they're at least getting a good foundation for health. A lot of us guess. We feel better, but we're still wondering sometimes, is what I'm doing working? I'm losing weight, I feel better. But sometimes we're still wondering, are things incubating? Is disease happening? And so we want to try to take out some of that guesswork. There'll always be guesswork. It doesn't matter how, you can go to the highest kind of pathophysiologist out there who's been doing this for 50 years, and nothing's for certain, okay? But there are a couple things that we can know are good indicators on how well your foundational cellular health is. So one of my favorite quotes by Thomas Edison is, "The doctors of the future will give no medicines but will interest patients in the care of the human frame and diet and in the cause and prevention of disease." So there's a time and a place for medicine. Absolutely. I'm very grateful. There's been times in my life where I've needed it. Okay, I had my appendix taken out a couple years ago. I'm so grateful. But there's definitely times and places that it's kind of abused and that people abuse the system, and there's other ways. And so we want to look at some of those ways that can be a little bit more holistic. Okay? So HealthScope is this kind of trademark concept that we have that we go around and we take a single drop of someone's blood and analyze certain things in the blood. We don't look for disease. We don't look for illness. We simply try to see how well is the body getting good amounts of nutrients, how well is the body oxygenating itself, how well is the body getting rid of certain types of wastes and toxins. And all three of these things can tell a pretty powerful story about you, about your health, and what you may need or what you don't need. Okay? And that's really what it is. This was actually done at A.T. Still University of Health Sciences. This is a school that doctors come out of and dentists comes out of and physician's assistant, and they invited us to come out and talk to them. And they were geeking out over it. They loved it. They're like, I remember this stuff from molecular biology class. But this is what we do now. And so kind of one of our mottos in our business is our life's work is to improve your health. That's really what we're trying to do, is trying to help people. And so we try to help people see what they don't currently see right now. We can look in the mirror every day and we look the same. And we might feel a little bit better day by day, or maybe we might feel a little worse day by day, maybe we're plucking out that gray hair. But most of the time, disease incubates and health incubates in a way that all of a sudden one day it can manifest itself, and you're being told that you have some terminal illness. And obviously that's a tragic day. Some of you might have already had that in here, but I've had that happen to a couple members of my family. And it's hard because you think, what happened? Well, it's hard to say exactly what happened, but disease is this long incubating process. It doesn't just happen like that, very slowly. And so we want to be able to help build a foundation that can slow that down, prevent it, and you're going to learn about things today that make a dramatic difference, and it all starts with cellular health. 5 things that we find as microscopists. Okay? We have a unique look into what we're doing because we look at people's blood all day long. We look at cells all day long. And then we do a lot of research and the latest studies. And there's 5 main things that we've really seen that we call the 5 pillars of cellular health that make a huge difference on improving a foundation for cellular health. First is oxygen. We all hear about that, okay? Extremely important. Next is nutrients, eliminating toxins and waste. getting good enzymes, and we're going to talk for the rest of the time just these 5 specific things. And last one are probiotics. Okay, and so we'll talk about kind of why these are. Due to time, there's a little video that I kind of show that's kind of fun, that shows humans doing like really cool things. I'm actually going to skip that video just due to time. But let me kind of give you a little reiteration of what it would have been. The human body is amazing. We can do some incredible things. And it shows people like going down a canyon in a squirrel suit, and this guy jumps so high, literally his head is at the top of the backboard on a you know, professional basketball hoop. And it shows people doing like flips, and guy doing football and like flips over a guy. So all these cool things, right? And people can do some pretty amazing things. Your goal in health might not be to go down a canyon in a squirrel suit, or jump so high that your head's almost touching the backboard, okay? But I know, and I guarantee that everybody in here has a health goal. Some of us is to lose weight. Some of us are at a performance level where we're trying to get the next best time, or lift the next heaviest thing, or whatever the case is. Some of us, it's just to look better, to feel better, to improve, boost immunity. All of us are at different places, different levels. I'm hoping today that you'll come away with some information that's going to help you get there. If you're a professional athlete or trying to walk your first half mile, I guarantee you're going to learn some things today that's going to help improve whatever you're trying to do. And that's because everything starts at a cell level. And that's what we're trying to get to. That's the root of where health starts. So I'm going to skip over this little video here, okay? And I'm going to go to this next video. So Dr. Andrew Weil. Anybody know who Dr. Weil is? Okay. Yeah, who was that? Somebody said something? Yeah, okay. So Dr. Weil's a pretty smart guy, okay? He's this world-renowned MD, author, professor, and he gives us kind of a brief definition of what health is to him.
I consider health a...
Hold on, is there a way to turn that up? Where's anybody? Jill, is there... Okay, yeah, maybe just turn it up a little bit.
relative state of wholeness and balance.
That's good, thank you.
Healthy, you can interact with germs, not get infections or allergies, not get allergic responses with toxins, and not be harmed. I'm an educator, and I have great faith in education. I believe that if you present people with information in ways that they can understand and their own experience, they will follow through and run with that. And I think that applies in areas of nutrition, physical activity, all of it.
This affects everything. HealthScope was designed by leading health and fitness experts, along with leading medical, nutrition, and health professionals. Here's how it works. The human body is an incredible living machine, and at the center of it all, acting like roots of a tree, is our blood. Our blood is a highway comprised mainly of red blood cells and platelets. Nutrients and white blood cells. Under health scope, healthy conditions look like this.
All right, so let me tell you why that's so important, that's what healthy conditions look like, okay? So I'm not the best artist here, but you're gonna get the point. So if you can break your body down, all right, all we are just zillions and zillions of cells, okay? Take your eye. Your eye is just these billions and billions of cells compounded together to make your eye. Then to make your hair, to make your bones, to make your muscles, all of that. It's really incredible when you think about it. And cells are kind of just these little round things, okay? But there's so many different things that these cells do. And certain cells need more of other things. For example, an eye cell needs more vitamin A, beta carotene. Muscle cells need more amino acids and protein. Bones need a lot of calcium. Well, how does the bone get the calcium? It's not like the calcium just goes to the bone. And this is pretty basic stuff, but the calcium has to specifically get to the cells in the bone and then supply the calcium, and then it creates a certain function. It's a certain catalyst that takes place. So, if you have all the cells of your body, okay? So here's just kind of the cells of your body. Now, interwoven between all the cells of your body are things called capillary tubes. So you have this vast network, okay, of capillary tubes here that literally act like roots of a tree that just go interwoven, thank you, all throughout your body, all throughout all the cells of your body. And these capillary tubes are the smallest vessel that blood travels through. So they go from arteries, bigger vessels, to arterioles, to eventually to capillary tubes. And capillary tubes are so small. So here's red blood cells. Red blood cells are 7.2 microns in diameter. The opening to a capillary tube is only about 3.2 microns in diameter. And so for even a red blood cell to finally fit in the capillary tube, they can only go in really single-filely one at a time, and sometimes they even have to kind of bend and fold to go in. So they can only go in there one at a time. And you have such a vast network of capillaries that literally if you could take all your capillary tubes and put them together side by side, they would go all the way around the world 2 times. You know, I remember hearing that even when I was in junior high. But it's true. That's how much this network is. Because every cell in your whole entire body has to get 3 things every day. It needs to get oxygen, nutrients, and about 90 different types of nutrients. And now we're even developing more things that we can see and researching things like polyphenols and phytonutrients and microscopic soil organisms and all these different things that we learn our body needs. Okay, so your body needs a lot of things, but they have to get to the cells. And then we also need to eliminate wastes from the cells. So how does that do that? Well, it all takes place mainly in the capillary tubes. So hemoglobin, or red blood cells, should be nice and full of hemoglobin. Okay, so they should look nice and dark under a microscope. Now, what is hemoglobin carrying? Why is it so important? They contain large amounts of oxygen. So they're the transports of oxygen. Now, the plasma of the blood, it's just kind of this fluid that floats with the blood that's primarily made up of water, but that contains all the nutrients. So vitamin C, A, amino acids, essential fatty acids, all those things are kind of floating in the plasma along with the red blood cells. And so those are going to be in the capillary tubes as well. Well, hopefully. And so your body goes through something called the capillary exchange. And that's that once they're in these areas, it can actually exchange the nutrients and it's delivered to all the cells of their body. Same thing with your oxygen. All the oxygen now is going to the cells. This is called your interstitial fluid or interstitial space. And that's how everything's transported. So capillaries are extremely important. So it's important to understand that if your red blood cells, for example, all look like this, what are we missing a lot of? Well, iron, yes, but you're getting even ahead of me. Why is that important? Why do we want good sources of hemoglobin in our cells? What's it carrying? Oxygen. Yeah, oxygen is extremely important. In fact, you can only go a couple minutes without oxygen. You can go a couple days without nutrients, a couple days even without water. But a couple minutes without oxygen and cells start dying. It's crucial. We have to be able to have good sources of oxygen to all the cells of our body. So we want nice and separated cells because they have to go in single-filely. If cells are all kind of all aggregated and they're all kind of clumped together like this, it's called rouleau. or there's these big kind of clumps called erythrocyte aggregation. And if that's kind of how circulation is going through the body, it's much harder for single-filely to go into the capillaries to deliver the oxygen and the nutrients. And so you don't get as good blood circulation. And so we want to make sure people are getting really good blood circulation. With nutrients, we have to get good sources of nutrients. And so this is kind of that, you know, I'm starting to get ahead of myself. This is that basic principle we want everybody to understand, okay? Because as we're looking at people's blood and doing the evals, we're trying to help create a baseline on where people are at and what's taking place. But this is that primary function that we have to see happening in order for people to get really healthy cells. And the last thing is the waste and toxins. So your cells naturally will produce toxins as a byproduct, even of breathing, carbon dioxide. But then we breathe in other types of toxins, we eat toxins, and so we have a lot of this toxic debris that builds up throughout our body. And so we have to have a way of getting rid of it. Well, we do the same way. We filter it back through the capillaries, it goes down our blood now, but it's going through venules, then to veins, and then it's going to things like our liver and our kidneys and lymphatic system, and these are really what's trying to circulate and cleanse out all these different toxins and waste, and our body has a way of doing that. So those three basic things, oxygen, nutrients, and getting rid of waste, okay? So with understanding this picture here,
Let's look now at
keep that in mind because you're going to see some examples are what are very common with people's health, and obviously what we're trying to help people get to.
5 health pillars that affect our health. First is oxygen. As we breathe, oxygen is transferred to our red blood cells through our lungs, then transported to deliver oxygen to every living cell in our body. Common conditions that can be seen that affect the body's transport of oxygen are seen here. The second health pillar is nutrients. Our digestive system serves one main purpose, and that's to break down foods we consume to deliver needed nutrients to our body cells. Once food reaches our stomach, powerful gastric stomach acids help to break down the food in an effort to get the nutrients out of what we eat. As food passes through our small intestines, nutrients are absorbed through our intestinal lining and then absorbed into our blood. The blood then transports these nutrients to every living cell in the body. Common conditions that point to nutritional vitamin and mineral deficiencies are seen here.
Okay, so let me pause that real quick. So here's what, if someone's not getting good nutrients to all the cells of their body, then the cells start looking differently. Instead of just looking all the same shape, the same size, very uniform, because that's what they need as they're being made, then they're actually able to get all the nutrients and they can become very uniform. But some people will start looking like this: ovocytes, macrocytes, microcytes, they have an acanthocyte, poikilocytes. There's all these different diversities of cells. And so when people just have these patterns repeating over and over again of all this diversity with their cells, then you know they're not getting very good nutrients. Something I've been extremely impressed with so far with isogenics is it's very rare. If people have been on isogenics for a long time, their cells don't look like this. They might have one or two here and there, but for the most part, they're very nice and regular, nice crisp round edges. You can tell they're getting good sources of nutrients. This is a big indicator of mineral and vitamin deficiencies. And so certain ones, it might be more with vitamin B, some of it might be more with a deficiency in vitamin or the mineral, the mineral iron, when you're having something called a kodocyte. It's hard to say exactly what they're missing, but you know they're missing things. And then there's even further tests that you can do called micronutrient testing that can actually tell you specifically you're this low in vitamin K, you're this low in vitamin D, you're this low in that. And we do those as well.
That's a separate test.
Yeah, that's a separate test. Yeah, and that's where you're actually having to draw blood. It's sent off to a lab. But those are things that we do as well. But this is kind of that baseline that we want to help people first get at, just to see where you at. What do things look like? And sometimes it's that scene that creates a motivation behind someone to do something, to actually act. All right? And so that's what is a good indicator. If someone's not getting good nutrients, they'll have a lot of diversity within their cells. If they have a lot of diversity, they don't function as well, which means you're not getting as good oxygen to the rest of the cells of the body. You might not be able to be eliminating waste as well. You might not be able to be, you're not getting obviously as good nutrients to the cells, all because of that diversity with the cells. Any questions about the nutrient side? Okay.
The third health pillar are enzymes. Digestive enzymes are biological catalysts that create the needed action to actually pull the nutrients out of the foods we eat. Three main digestive enzymes are amylase, which helps break down sugars, protease, which breaks down proteins, and lipase that breaks down fats. Seen here are common conditions that show a body's lack of digestive enzymes, which results in the buildup of sugars, fats, and proteins in the blood.
So this is all fat in there. It's called chylus. All those black dots, looks like it's snowing. There's different types of crystal-like fat formations. These are called spicules. These long fibrinogen strands of just excess protein in the blood. Right here, uric acid crystals.
The fourth health pillar.
So as we're evaluating people's blood, you're looking at it. You look for the oxygen, separation of the cells. Then you're looking for nutritional deficiencies with the diversity of the cells. The next thing you want to look for is, are there a lot of built-up fat, sugars, or proteins? Well, why is that important? Well, here's one that, particularly even people with weight loss, if someone can't regulate, metabolize, and break down sugar very well, then most of the time they're storing it, not just in their blood, but they're storing it in the cells. And it's creating a lot of adipose tissue, and the fat cells get bigger and bigger. And so sometimes a common link is just a digestive enzyme called amylase that can help break up certain types of sugars. There's different types of amylase enzymes. Many times people can get a lot of inflammation, and they always wonder, why do I get inflammation? It's a huge buzzword you hear a lot about. Well, what starts inflammation? There's a lot of things that start inflammation. But one of the biggest ones we find is people that can't break down certain types of proteins create a lot of inflammation because they can build all this excess protein up in the blood that's all of a sudden creating this inflammation. And enzymes are really what helps to break these down. Enzymes are incredible. Everybody's just, over the last 30 seconds, there's probably been about 100 blinks in here, blinking your eyes. Every time you blink, it's created by a reaction from an enzyme. You breathe, there's enzymes involved. Okay, so enzymes are crucial. There's about 70,000 types of enzymes that create reactions all throughout our body. But the type that we're looking for are digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes break foods down. So let me give you a little analogy. Okay, when food hits your stomach, your hydrochloric acids, your gastric stomach acids, break the food down into smaller and smaller food, kind of mushes up, tries to kind of create this thing called like a chyme, right? But it's not actually breaking things down to a nutrient level. There's a certain reaction that has to take place to do that. So let's imagine that you're chopping firewood, okay, with an axe. You can chop this firewood as small as you want, and I don't care how many times you chop it, it just becomes smaller and smaller wood pieces. And you can go to town with it even more, but it becomes smaller and smaller wood pieces. But if you light it on fire, what happens? It's gone. It completely changes the molecular property of the wood. It's no longer wood anymore. Well, that's what enzymes do to the things we consume. But if you don't have the enzymes, then you don't ever do that. So many of us don't digest our foods properly because as we age or as we eat way too much cooked foods, our pancreas that's producing these digestive enzymes gets fatigued. And so we don't produce as much lactase. We become lactose intolerant. We don't produce certain types of protease, and we become gluten intolerant. So what gluten is? Gluten's a protein. If you lack the enzyme to break gluten down, your body develops a certain toxin reaction to it and an allergy that it looks to almost like a poison. right? So you can develop certain intolerances to many different types of foods based off of if you don't have the enzymes to break it down. So if we eat a lot of cooked and processed foods all the time, we're fatiguing our pancreas. And you hear a lot about this today. Okay, pancreatic cancer is a big thing, but you hear about inflamed pancreases and pancreases that aren't functioning very well. Why? They're just fatigued. We consume so much cooked foods, processed foods, that we are running out of enzymes. And so enzymes are what help us break these nutrients down and break our foods down. If you don't have the right amount of enzymes, you become too acidic. Just a lack of enzyme can create heartburn, acid indigestion. It can create constipation. It can create diarrhea. Digestional issues are a big thing that everybody has. Well, we don't talk about them a lot usually, especially in areas like this. You know, it's kind of embarrassing, but everybody has them. And so much of it is caused from not having the right amount of enzymes. So if you can't break down macronutrients, protein, sugars, and fats, we need to identify that and help people. We've been able to help and see a lot of people get help just from getting on good amounts of digestive enzymes. It's one of the biggest things that can start helping people feel so much better right away, because it can start breaking down these built up fats, proteins, and sugars in their blood. Okay? So that's the next thing we're really trying to look for, is how well is your body breaking down these types of nutrients. So any questions about enzymes, how they work? Any questions about the enzymes? Yeah.
Once you start taking the enzymes, is it like a lifetime thing, or can your body repair?
Yeah, for most people, yes. There's been a lot of research that have shown that, let's say someone has a hard time breaking down proteins, and they take tons of proteolytic types of enzymes to break down the heavy proteins that they're eating. And as long as they're kind of resting for some time, sometimes it can allow the pancreas to rest a little bit, and then all of a sudden they can start eating heavy proteins without the enzymes, and they're doing fine. But literally, like in 20 to 30 days, it's right back to where it was before. So it is what it is, and I hate telling people that, because I was one that always told people before, don't supplement. Just get everything you need from food. Okay? Well, I've had to change a lot of my mentality because my perception changed. I had a paradigm shift because I started seeing how much we started needing enzymes, and so many people are dependent upon enzymes, right? Just how it is. So unfortunately, there's not a lot that our body does to heal the pancreas well enough, long enough, to just allow you just to naturally produce all these enzymes again. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
When's the best time to take the enzyme?
Great, no, thank you, great question. So it depends on what's happening. If you want to improve your digestion, you want to take the enzymes when you eat. Like right when you take your first bite of food, you're taking the enzymes, because then it's helping break down the foods as you're eating them. But having said that, many people that have a lot of built up stuff already in their blood, okay, like 2 days ago I was down in Tucson and I did this guy's blood, and it just, sometimes you're sitting there thinking, you're like, gosh man, I want to help this person right now. There was so much protein built up in this person's blood, so much inflammation. So it's going to be recommended that person take digestive enzymes on an empty stomach, because if you take digestive enzymes on an empty stomach, it can actually help the enzymes go into the bloodstream and help break up the stuff actually built up in the blood. So it depends on what's happening. Always want to take it with foods, obviously, when you're trying to digest the foods. That's going to help prevent that from happening. But if you have a lot of built up, you might want to take 1 or 2 bottles for like 30 to 60 days on an empty stomach at the same time, just to help with your body getting rid of metabolizing all that stuff out and breaking it down. Were you going to?
I was going to say, what you described sounded very familiar. The empty stomach kind of cleansing effect.
Yeah.
Didn't want to.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'm just vibing with
it
you.
makes a big difference.
Yeah.
When you can cleanse on an empty stomach, it works so much faster, because instead of it working on food in your whole digestive system, a lot of it can go directly into your bloodstream and start working on just on a cellular level much quicker. Yeah.
So you would take them also when you're eating and also when you're exercising. So you'd be taking both.
If that's what they needed, yeah. A lot of doctors will recommend something called systemic enzyme therapy. And systemic enzyme therapy is where they'll actually prescribe large amounts of enzymes. So usually it's proteolytic enzymes or different types of amylase enzymes. Even people with bad sinus infections, many times they're finding that it's because they have a lot of built up sugar, something called platelet aggregations kind of built up all throughout their blood. And so it can affect a lot of sinus issues. And so they'll take, like 6 times a day, they're taking large amounts of these enzymes on empty stomachs 6 times a day for like 30 days. And they're seeing really good results from it. So sometimes people will go through things like that. And sometimes people need that. So if you're taking it, to kind of reiterate, to summarize, taking them on an empty stomach, it helps break down the stuff that's already in the blood. Taking it with food, it's going to help break up the food that you're trying to digest right then and there.
And what I want to add on to that is that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I forgot to take it. And so you don't take it. Take it. I mean, right? Doesn't matter, I mean, it does, there's probably more optimal times. But if you forget, I'm now carrying them because of our conversation. They're in my purse, they're in my kitchen, they're at home, they're at my computer. And if I go eat and I go into the kitchen to sit down, I'm like, oh, I forgot. I take it, because it's still quite beneficial.
Yeah, it's because it's going to help you not digest the food that you're eating, but it's going to help break up stuff that is undigested, built up in the blood.
And I know
already.
a lot of us think, oh, well, I missed the window.
Yeah.
Just take it anyway.
How many times a day would you take it? Just each time you eat, or?
Big meals, yeah. Big meals, you're usually taking 1 to 2 capsules with each meal. If the meal has lots of raw food in it, like if it's a big old salad, raw salad, don't take any enzymes.
Don't?
You wouldn't need to take any enzymes. Unless if your body has a hard time breaking up cellulose material, so that doesn't matter if it, like, let's say you take a bunch of salad. Some people get really gassy when they're eating a huge salad and a bunch of spinach, and they're thinking, why am I gassy from that? Sometimes it's just the cellulose material that your body's having a hard time breaking down, and they make specific enzymes for that. Usually just the digestive enzymes you can get, and the one that Isogenics make, it's just a broad spectrum. It has proteolytic enzymes, it has lipase enzymes, amylase enzymes, so it helps break up those macronutrients. But usually as a rule, if you're having food that is a lot of raw food, like if you're eating an apple, you don't need to take a digestive enzyme. If you're eating a burger, absolutely. Okay? Because the little tomato raw food on there, that's not going to cut it for the live enzymes. Okay? Once you cook your food, it kills all the enzymes. So, like a lot of people, you cook a tomato, it kills all the live enzymes. Okay? You go cook a pineapple, it kills all the live enzymes. Pineapple is one of the best things, and papaya, really, really good enzymes as well. And so when you're buying enzymes in a supplement form, that's what it is. It's actually live enzymes. Most of it grows from algae. They'll grow up from algae and different types of yeast at times. And so it's these live active enzymes that do the same thing. Yeah.
Chris, what is that? What? I know that there's different types of enzymes. What is in the pineapple?
Large varieties. Yeah,
Okay.
they have a lot of different types of enzymes. Mainly, one of the big ones that can help with breaking down proteins and sugars. So that's a lot of proteolytic enzymes, a lot of types of amylase enzymes, but it's mainly for helping break down proteins and sugars. And that's usually the most common that's forming are protein issues. A lot of this excess protein. Okay, so fourth one here.
Is the body's ability to remove waste and toxins. The blood picks up waste and toxins from our cells. The digestive tract eliminates our food wastes. While the blood is filtered through the liver and kidneys to help remove our toxic load. Seen here by HealthScope are the most common toxins and wastes built up in the blood. The fifth health pillar are probiotics, or good bacteria, that our body needs to help filter and build immunity from bad bacteria. These green bacteria represent the needed good bacteria, and the purple represents the unwanted and harmful bad bacteria. If our good
Bad bacteria are scary.
the bad bacteria overpopulate, causing all types of health issues. Seen here are examples of much needed probiotic support.
So these are the ones where, I like to tell people this, how when people see this stuff in their blood, they'll like fold their arms and they're like, what is that thing? you know, kind of called casual like, but you can tell they're nervous about it, you know. It kind of looks like these weird pumped up wormy like things. They're not alive. They're old kind of waste bacteria. They can be these types of fibrous thallus materials, uric acid crystals. Your body produces a lot of waste and toxins. And even what we show in the blood isn't what's also just kind of out in the body as well. So let me talk a little about probiotics here for a second. We hear a lot about probiotics, and sometimes we don't even necessarily know what they do. So your whole entire digestive tract, okay, here's your stomach. You have your small intestines here. Now, you should have this nice mucosal lining that lines all of your digestive tract. And if you look at it under like an actual microscope, mucosal linings look like all these little tiny worms. Okay? It looks really gross, but it's just this nice lining that should line our whole entire digestive tract. And what builds up a really healthy mucosal lining are good bacteria, probiotics, and different types. There's hundreds of different types of good bacteria that our body needs. Well, what do they do? Well, if you can kind of imagine all this kind of like worm-like, you know, mucosal lining that is all down our intestinal tract, and things can pass in and out of